Hi folks, what we have here is the brand new Lionel 3-rail O-scale ALCO PA-AA set in a beautiful Santa Fe paint scheme, and we're going to check it out today on Eric's Trains. Alright, so let's start things off with a little bit of history on the real PA. The ALCO PA was a family of diesel locomotives built by the American Locomotive Company, ALCO, and General Electric in Schenectady, New York, starting in 1946. Closely related to its smaller freight-hauling cousin, the ALCO FA, the PAs were built for passenger service and were available in a cabbed A unit, the PA, and a cabless booster B unit, the PB. Nearly 300 PA units would be manufactured by the time production ended in 1953, and during that production run there were two models offered. The 2,000 horsepower PA1 and PB1 were built from 1946 until mid-1950, and the 2,250 horsepower PA2 and PB2 were manufactured from early 1950 until 1953. Now, aside from the minor horsepower increase between the PA1 and the PA2, they were nearly identical in appearance, and so externally, the PA2s could be identified by the absence of the eyebrow trim piece on the grille behind the cab and the porthole window behind the radiator shutters. So based on that info, I believe what we have here is a couple of PA1s. As with the FAs, the ALCO 244 V16 prime mover proved to be the downfall of the PA. The engine had been rushed into production, and because of that, it proved to be very unreliable. The PA locomotives failed to capture a marketplace that at that time was dominated by EMD and their more reliable E units. Now, ALCO did try to rectify the situation with a repowering program that would swap out the 244 series prime mover with the more reliable 567C, but this proved to be economically unfeasible and so was never done except on a handful of Santa Fe units. Now, ALCO did come out with the 251 series engine eventually, which was a vastly improved prime mover, but it was not available in time for ALCO to recover the loss of reputation caused by the unreliability of the 244, and by the time the ALCO 251 engine was accepted into widespread use, GE had ended their partnership with ALCO and had already started to put their own locomotives on the market. GE would eventually overtake ALCO in the market, and this led to the eventual bankruptcy and end of ALCO in 1969. Now, although most PAs were eventually scrapped, fortunately 4 PA units and 1 converted PB unit survive today. Now, I'm not going to list the locations and road names of the surviving units in this video, but if you're interested, just do a quick Google search and you'll get all the information you need. Alright, so that takes care of the history of the real PA. Now let's talk about Lionel's rendition that we have here. So Lionel offered this set in their 2018 Volume 2 catalog, and these things were delivered, I believe, in early 2019, earlier this year. Now, they were offered in 6 different road names. There's the Santa Fe version that we have here. There's a Denver Rio Grande, a New York Central, a Pennsy, a Union Pacific, and a Southern Pacific. Now, I've actually seen the Southern Pacific version in person. It is absolutely beautiful, and I really considered getting it, but ultimately I decided to get the Santa Fe version instead. Now, in addition to the AA set that we have here, in the same catalog, Lionel also offered matching Super Base PB units, and so there's one for each road name. Unfortunately, I do not have the Santa Fe Super Base B unit at this time, but I do plan on getting it at some point in the future. Let's go over some stats and facts on this set. The length of each unit is just under 16 inches. The combined length of the entire set is right at 32.5 inches. The weight of the lead unit is 4 pounds 6 ounces, and the weight of the rear unit is 4 pounds 4 ounces. That gives us a combined weight of 8 pounds 10 ounces. This set has right at 2 pounds 12 ounces of pulling power, which is pretty good, and the minimum required curve needed to operate this set is 0.36. On the inside, each PA unit in this set is driven by 2 vertically mounted flywheel motors, one above each truck, So this set has a total of 4 motors. There is a fan-driven smoke unit on the inside of each unit for the smokestack. The lead unit has legacy command control as well as legacy rail sounds and Bluetooth control. And then the rear unit also has legacy command control and Bluetooth, but does not have its own sound system. Whenever I review a multi-unit set like this, someone will invariably ask me whether or not the rear unit is an independent engine, whether or not you can run it separately from the lead unit. In this case, the answer is yes. However, I would not recommend doing that for a couple reasons. Number one, there is no sound system in the rear unit, so if you run it by itself, there will be no sound. And secondly, the rear unit is designed to be a rear unit, so if you power it up by itself, you'll notice that by default it will move backwards, not forwards. You'll have to change direction to make it move forwards, and that's because it's part of this set. When you put this set on the rails and you program it into your legacy or TMCC system, you assign the same ID to both units, and so they act as one big engine, and because of that, the rear unit is designed to run in reverse by default when it first starts up. And so for that reason, it doesn't make a good independent engine by itself. However, if you wanted to, you could run it as a rear unit of another set. You don't have to necessarily run it with this lead unit. So when it comes time to run this set, you've got a few options available to you. The preferred method, of course, is to use Lionel's legacy command system, as that will give you access to all of this set's advanced features. However, you can also run this set using Lionel's classic TMCC command system, or you can run this set using the Lionel Lion Chief app on your smartphone or tablet via the Bluetooth connection, or you can run this set conventionally with just a transformer and some track. Alright, so now it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. As I'm sure many of you know, this set was the victim of a recall. The legacy board inside each unit was defective in that the engines would forget their assigned legacy/TMCC ID number. So what would happen was that you would get the set, you put it on the track, and you would assign each unit an ID number in your legacy or TMCC system. And at that point, everything worked great until you turned the power off. And the next time you powered up the set, nothing would happen because each of these units had forgotten their assigned legacy/TMCC ID. Now, interestingly enough, it did not affect the Bluetooth functionality. So if all you were doing was running the set from your smartphone, this wouldn't apply. But since most people probably run these things via legacy or TMCC, obviously it was a big problem. So as soon as Lionel became aware of the problem, they did the right thing and offered to fix it. So if you get one of these sets and it's not remembering the IDs, you simply contact Lionel and they'll have you send it in and they will fix it free of charge. And that's exactly what I did with my set because it was forgetting the IDs. So I sent it into Lionel, and when I got it back, it was working perfectly. Alright, so now I've got to take a couple minutes to address the swarm of negativity that often surrounds any mistake that's made in this hobby. Because if I don't, the comments section of this video will be filled to the brim with hate speech directed towards Lionel. You know how it goes. I'm never buying Lionel again. How can they make a mistake like this? They shouldn't be making mistakes on a model this expensive. Oh, it's because it's made in China, and so on and so on. It's really ridiculous. I've never understood it. I can understand being inconvenienced because you have to send your model off to be repaired. I get that. But it's not the end of the world. And, you know, I've talked about this before, but I don't get worked up about mistakes because, you know what? Mistakes happen. And it's not just Lionel that makes mistakes. MTH makes them, Atlas makes them, everybody makes them in this hobby. And it's not just this hobby. Mistakes are made in the automobile industry all the time. Mistakes are made in the aircraft industry all the time. Mistakes are made in the spacecraft industry all the time. Mistakes are even made at your local restaurant when they're preparing your food. And all of these mistakes happen for one simple reason. It's because humans are not perfect. We make mistakes. It's like the old saying goes, to err is human. Humans make mistakes. And the way I view it is that I really don't care about the mistake. Mistakes happen. What I care about is how the mistake is handled, because that is really the defining moment for a person or a company, how they handle the mistake. Did they acknowledge it and did they make it right? And in this case, Lionel did the right thing. They acknowledged the problem and they offered to fix it free of charge. You really can't ask any more than that. And so for me, this really is a non-issue, and I'm not going to let this mistake tarnish my opinion of this set, because despite the recall, this is a fantastic set and I would recommend it to anyone. Now, I'm sure some people will criticize me on this. They'll say, hey, this set costs almost $1,000. They shouldn't be making mistakes on a set this expensive. Well, yeah, in a perfect world, that's true, but it's not a perfect world and mistakes happen, and the amount of money you spend on something really doesn't matter. Automobiles cost a whole lot more than model trains, and mistakes happen all the time. Airplanes cost millions of dollars, and mistakes are made from time to time. Spacecraft cost billions of dollars, and mistakes happen from time to time. And then, you know, some old timers will say, well, it's because it's made in China. It didn't used to be like this back in the day. Well, that is completely untrue. Lionel made tons of mistakes back in the post-war and pre-war periods. In fact, some of those mistakes are incredibly valuable nowadays. But the point is, mistakes have been made for the entire history of this hobby. And it has nothing to do with where the trains are being made. It has to do with who's making them. They're being made by human beings, and as I said, humans make mistakes. And so for me, like I said, I choose not to focus on the mistake, but on the reaction to the mistake. That's what really counts in my mind. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now, and by the way, I really don't like making big speeches like that, but over the years I found that I kind of have to, because if I don't, I'll never hear the end of it in the comments section of the video and on the OGR forum and so forth, and so I found it's best to just nip it in the bud and get it over with, because like I said, if I don't, the more negative people in the hobby will just go bananas with it. Let's take a quick look at one of these PA units. Down here we've got the front pilot, which is die-cast metal, and we've got some cast-in details on it and some add-on MU hoses and so forth. Right here is the electrocoupler that can be thrown from the Legacy or TMCC remote. And then moving up here, well, who doesn't like this? There is really nothing like the front of a Santa Fe diesel. It looks awesome. We've got some add-on metal grab irons on the corners, operating marker lights up here. There's an operating flashing Mars light right here, and then an operating headlight below it. Now what's really cool is that the door on the front of this unit actually opens up. And you really don't see this very often in O-gauge, where the door on the front of one of these cowl body diesels opens up. That is really cool. Up above all that, we've got a stripe on the hood, we've got some add-on windshield wipers, add-on metal grab irons, and a lighted number board here in the middle. As we turn the corner on the underside, you can see we've got some very nicely detailed die-cast metal truck side frames, and there's a little ladder here that goes up to the cab. And then in the middle, we've got the fuel tank area, which is very nicely detailed. Here's a look at the cab area. We've got a legible builder's plate down here, add-on metal grab irons on either side of the doors, some nice steps down here. The doors on the cab open up, and they are sprung, so they'll snap back shut. On the inside of the cab, there are two hand-painted crew figures. There's a decent-looking control panel for the engineer, and the interior of the cab is lighted, and that light does shut off when the engine starts moving. We've also got this nice eyebrow piece here that I was talking about earlier. It looks really cool. We've got lots of see-through metal grills going on. And then right here is one of my favorite features on this set. These number boards on the side actually light up. There's an LED behind here, and when the engine is powered up, this actually glows. We've got a door right here, and there's one on the other side as well. And just like the doors on the cab, these do open up. We've got add-on metal grab irons on either side of the doors. There's a porthole window here, and there's one down here as well. However, you can't see through them because they're blacked out, but that's a good thing, because if they weren't, you'd be able to see wires and motors and all that stuff, so they did a good thing there. And then we've got see-through metal grills going all the way down here, and this fantastic Santa Fe logo right here. At the end of the A unit, there's a little ladder down here, and there's one on the other side as well. And rather than being fixed in place, this ladder actually moves a little bit. It's hinged and it's sprung, so it snaps back. And Lionel did this to help this engine negotiate tighter curves like 036. Because if you go around a tight curve in this engine, the truck and the coupler will swing out and hit that ladder. And if it was fixed in place, it would cause the train to derail or break the ladder or something like that. But since it moves a little bit, that allows the engine to get around those tighter curves successfully. And so without this moving ladder, the minimum curve probably wouldn't be 036, it'd probably be 054 or something. As for the rest of the back, we've got a dummy O-gauge coupler down here to connect to the other A unit, and for the uninitiated, a dummy coupler is one that does not operate. And then right here we've got this nice diaphragm, and then there's another door, and yes, this door does open as well, and it's also sprung. Here's a look at the gap between the two A units, and it's really not that bad, especially for O-gauge. We've got about 1/8 of an inch here between the two diaphragms. Up on the roof, there's not a whole lot to see, but we do have an add-on metal horn here. We've got some nice metal lift rings and some nice detailing going on here. Then we've got the smokestack, and as I said, there is a fan-driven smoke unit down in there. And as always, to load smoke fluid into the smoke unit, you simply pour the smoke fluid directly down the stack. Back behind that, we've got this fan assembly, and I'm not sure if you can see on the video, but there is a free spinning fan blade down in there. On the very end here, we've got a panel that can be removed, like that, to reveal some engine controls. Now, I'm not sure how well you can see this, but right here is the run program switch that you use to program the engine into your legacy or TMCC system. Then we've got the smoke unit on-off switch if you want to deactivate the smoke unit entirely. Then we've got a coupler switch. This will actually deactivate the front coupler if you choose to do so. And then we've got the master volume knob. Now on the rear A unit, it does not have a volume knob because of course the rear A unit does not have a sound system. Here's a look at the underside of the lead A unit. There are 4 pickup rollers, 2 per truck. There are 3 axles on each truck, but only these 2 are driven. This one is free spinning. And then on the inner axle of each truck, there are 2 traction tires for a total of 4. The speaker for the sound system is right here in the middle, and then right here is the sensor for the Lionel LCS sensor track if you choose to use one. Now the underside of the rear A unit looks exactly the same, except there's no speaker and there's no LCS sensor. Alright, the last thing we're going to do before we start this thing up is BF-IMO, best feature in my opinion. Well, my favorite feature on these new PAs is actually the horn. It just has a great crisp sound to it. It really gets your attention, so BF-IMO is definitely the horn for me. Alright, now it's time to have some fun, so let's go ahead and start this thing up.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy? I copy that. Over. Please start up and stand by. Over. Yes, sir. Start up and stand by. Out.
First up, let's check out the horn, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it through the video why I picked it for BF-IMO. It's just got a great sound to it. It's crisp, it gets your attention, and it's got a little bit of echo on it, so it just sounds amazing. Let's check it out. Check out the bell. You can do a single hit like this, or a continuous hit like this. And lastly, let's check out some of the always ultra realistic crew talk sounds.
Dispatcher here. Please stand by. Over. Roger. Standing by. Out. Dispatcher here. You're cleared outbound. Over. Copy that. We have a clear signal. Out. My fuel's full. Out. Dispatcher. Error is made. Brake test complete. Are we clear to
Now, unfortunately, right now, I do not have any of the really cool-looking silver streamlined Santa Fe passenger cars. I've got some stuff that is close, but it's not Santa Fe. And so for today's run, I'm going to be using some older Santa Fe heavyweight passenger cars. Anyway, let's go ahead and roll it out. Alright, that about wraps it up for this review. As you've seen, this is a great set, and I'm not going to let the fact that I had to exchange the boards diminish my enjoyment of the set. It's a lot of fun to run. I'm really glad I got it, and I would recommend this set to anybody. Now, if you're interested in purchasing one of these sets, the retail price is just under $1,000. Although keep in mind that if you go through a good Lionel dealer, you should be able to get a bit of a discount off that retail price. And as always, if you're looking for a good Lionel dealer, try my favorite train store, which is Legacy Station. You can find them on the web at www.legacystation.com or give them a call at 770-339-7780. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, make sure you click that little bell icon so that you get notified each time a new video is published. If you'd like to support Eric's Trains, you can do so through Patreon at www.patreon.com/ericstrains. And I'd like to extend a big thank you to all of my current Patreon supporters, especially my first-class supporters, whose names will be listed at the end of this video. Now, if you'd like to get some Eric's Trains merchandise, the Eric's Trains online store is at www.ericstrains.com/store. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time. Alright folks, what we have here is the brand new Lionel 3-rail O-scale ALCO PA-AA set. And I can't remember where I was going from here. The ALCO PA was a family of diesel locomotives built by the American Locomotive Company, ALCO, and General Electric in Schenectady. The PA locomotives failed to capture a marketplace that at that time, the legacy board inside each unit was defective in that the engines would forget their assigned legacy/TMCC out of breath. And finally, I just want to say that above all, I don't let stuff like this get to me, because for me, Here's a look at the underside of one of these A units. We've got 4 pickup rollers, 2 per truck for good solid. Here's a look at the underside of the lead A unit. There are 4 something or others.